Hey everyone, happy Pride. Welcome to Be Our Guest, our weekly virtual happy hour with industry professionals. I'm Deb Janki, Artistic Director of Live and in Color. We are an artist-serving organization dedicated to developing new stage works that promote and celebrate diversity. June is our month of giving, and we have just 2 weeks left to win a matching gift of $10,000. So far, we've raised $5,600, and we need to raise another $4,400. So your gift of any amount will be doubled now through July 11th. And July 11th just happens to be the day of our Summer Garden Party benefit concert, Together Again. Buy your tickets for our first in-person event since the pandemic, or make a tax-deductible donation today by going to liveandincolor.org right now and double your impact today. Now, grab your cocktail and start leaving questions for our two wonderful guests in the comments, both of who will actually be performing in our July Garden Party concert. Please welcome two of my great friends from Broadway's Peter and the Starcatcher and Pacific Overtures, Orville Mendoza, and from Miss Saigon and the marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and the creator of off-Broadway Sonnet play, Brian Myers-Cooper. Hello, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh my God, it's so good to see you both.
So great to see you too. And I can't wait, now that we're all vaccinated, to be together in person once again.
Yes, and singing together.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. It's. I think I missed that. I've missed that the most. I did a job. I can't say what it is because NDA, but it was the very first time I got to sing live with a bunch of my friends in the same room, in a recording studio together, but we were all singing at the same time. There was no Zoom lag, and it was amazing. It was I was verklempt.
I know, it's an emotional experience, right? Like I've been experiencing it a lot these past couple of weeks with singers, and it's a big deal. It's so good to see you. Where are you joining us from?
In Harlem. We are in Harlem, New York. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard.
Yes, not too far from you.
Yes.
I thought, we could do this live. We could pop over today.
Exactly. And is that where you spent most of the past 15 months?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Brian was able to go and babysit his niece, our niece, Emerson.
Yeah, my sister's a nurse in Ohio, and when this all happened, she has really long shifts, and she's a single mom, and so she lost her childcare. I mean, there was just no options, and she called me a couple weeks into it because she was going to have to quit her job, and said, "Hey, can you come out here?" So I spent about 4 months taking care of my 2.5-year-old niece, which was in the midst of a lot of trauma and horribleness for so many people, just a little bit of a silver lining, because that was a really lovely gift.
And I was over last Thanksgiving, I did take a risk and went to see my folks. But it was just my brother and my parents and I. And we stayed, luckily they have a big enough place where even in the house, we could stay socially distant. They were all in a pod, obviously, but I was like the foreign person coming in, the unknown element. So I made sure to be masked while if I was ever 6 feet or closer from them. And it worked out great. Like no one got infected. We had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And, it'll this year we're looking forward to it being back to kind of normal.
Together, yes. Yes. So the three of us have such a long history together, and we're two of my oldest friends. We
know where the bodies are buried.
Yeah, literally, right down the road from the camp.
Played together and worked on many wonderful shows together. I know you both are such fantastic performers. I want to start at the beginning and ask you what first inspired you to pursue a career in the arts. Where did it all begin?
Do you want to start?
Okay, well, I grew up in southeastern Ohio in farm country, so don't ask me what city we were near, because we don't have them where I'm from. It was a challenging place for a young, scrawny, gay farmhand. And I found myself in theater in the school musicals, and somehow saw that was my future. And I never looked back. That was always my path, even though I got a degree in something else, but I was always headed down that path.
And I grew up in Victorville, California, so I might as well have grown up in the middle of Ohio in the middle of nowhere, because a lot of people don't realize that, California on the surface may seem very liberal, but no, like in the big cities they are. But out where I grew up, I might as well have grown up in the Bible Belt. It's very conservative out there. The only outlet for the arts I had were PBS and the local public library. And so, seeing great performances, seeing Leontine Price at the Met, that was my first exposure to any of this world. And seeing it, looking at that and going, wow, that is so far away. That might as well have been on another planet for me, because, I had dreams of performing, at the time, being raised Seventh-day Adventist, we were discouraged from doing just secular things, So the only artistic outlet I really had was music, and I played piano since I was 8, and singing in church and stuff like that. And I thought, maybe there's some way I could be a singer or whatever. I didn't know, but I would almost, after school, I would almost religiously go to the library, the public library, and I would scour their LPs, their Broadway LPs. And one time I came across this LP of this show called Pacific Overtures. I had no clue what this show was, and I mean, back in those days, it was semi brand new. Well, not that, I mean, it had been out for a while, but it was brand new to me, and I was probably maybe 10 years old or whatever. Anyway, listening to that score, listening to the orchestrations and the lyrics, I was just completely blown away. It was gorgeous. I didn't know what it was. I was like, is this a Broadway show? Is it a kabuki company? Like, what is it? And what is kabuki? But I kept checking out that LP like continuously. And then, of course, got more familiar with Olive Stephen Sondheim's other work from that LP rack, like Merrily We Roll Along, Company, like getting all these other things that he had written. And so, pretty soon, of course, as a gay child in the desert, I was indoctrinated into the Sondheim cult.
I love that Leontine Price and Pacific Overtures, where your entry
hand in hand, just natural. It's a natural progression. But that show, Pacific Overtures, has been completely instrumental in my career. The first semi-professional theater job I did was a production of Pacific Overtures at Irvine Civic Light Opera, and it was terrible. And I think everyone who was in that production knows it was terrible. But what it did, it introduced me to some fantastic Asian equity artists and non-Asian equity artists, and that's where I met Tim Dang. And Tim Dang, at the time, he was going to direct Into the Woods at East West Players, and invited me to audition for that. And I got into that, and then that's where
the rest is history.
The rest is history. But also, so fast forward, Pacific Overtures was also my first Broadway show. I was a swing in the revival at Roundabout Theater, and I just did it semi-recently, another revival at Classic Stage Company.
Yeah, which I thought was so beautiful.
It's been a wonder, so instrumental in my career. And
Brian, I'm curious what your first show was. What was your entry drug into the business? Do you remember?
I do. The first show I saw that I remember was in grade school. The high school did a production of Peter Pan, and I know this because recently the director of that show, the teacher, is a Facebook friend, and he recently posted some letters that the grade school kids wrote to the high school kids, including mine, which even though I was like, I don't know, 7, I very clearly knew that the character I was writing to, Peter, was played by a woman, an actress, and I thought I was smart stuff for knowing the magic behind it. Like, oh, it's not real. It's not real. But I the first role I played was a really baby-faced Jeffrey Moss in the erudite drunk writer in Bells Are Ringing.
I love it.
15.
I'm sure you were brilliant.
That's a word.
I love it. I love it.
But yeah, that I sat in front of the TV too, those Sundays in June when the Tony Awards would come on, and I remember so clearly some of them. I remember losing my mind over Cats. I remember La Cage aux Folles. It was right after I graduated high school, and I was like, oh my God, it blew my mind. And those experiences really were for me. It showed me like a light at the end of the tunnel. It showed me a path that was unlike any that anyone I knew was walking down. And I knew that is where I needed to go.
Well, I definitely think the Tony Awards, Cats, La Cage aux Folles, definitely, and it's a perfect segue because this is Pride Month.
It is.
And you two have been in a relationship for how long now?
22 years.
Wow. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
I have known the two of you as, a couple, and, you were dear to so many of our community. How did you first both meet?
What app was it?
They had no apps at the time.
No apps.
No internet. Like
Sort of.
you had to get out there on the floor.
Are you kidding?
And pound the pavement for men.
I fell on your lap.
What? We were
on tour.
On tour
with Miss Saigon. It was my first day.
Mm-hmm.
I would join the tour in San Francisco in 1998, and I was in stage management, waiting to be walked out so I could watch the company for the first time. And this person shows up at stage management's door in his Miss Saigon robe, and
we're all getting ready for the show,
and a big gulp cup, like an empty big gulp cup, like from 7-Eleven.
So what was happening? Okay, so we had been doing the show for 3 years at the time, because you joined the last 2 years. So yeah, I mean, we're not on autopilot, but we all are very confident of how long it takes for us to prepare. So anyway, I felt confident that I could mess around a little bit during half hour. And in San Francisco, oddly enough, I discovered that if you have a big gulp cup and you announce someone in the hallway, it sounds like a paging system in the theater. So
GTO, you have a visitor at the stage door?
Yes. So I was paging people like to different parts of the theater and was just laughing. And I think like Stephanie Douglas was playing Ellen at the time. I was like, Stephanie Douglas, you have a visitor at the stage door, Stephanie Douglas. And she would get up and go to the stage door. It was like 2 flights up, and then like peer out there. Was like, there's no one out here. What's going on? So anyway, stage management got wind that I was doing this. So they actually paged me to the company manager's office. Orville Mendoza, please come to the company manager. And then so I was like,
so in he comes, and he's like, what? And they're like, what do you mean? We didn't
like, we didn't page it. Yeah. So I was like, and then I look over and I see this one,
and the stage manager at PSM said, oh, Orville, meet the new guy.
And I was like, hi, I'm Orville.
And I looked up at him, and I said, I'm Brian. And I thought the thought bubble said, you're trouble.
So I meet him, and then I go back downstairs to the men's ensemble room. I said, hands off, bitches. He's mine. The new guy, he's mine. Hands off. And our dear friend GTO was like, Orville, you didn't give us a chance, man. Why did you give us a chance?
Oh, it's such a great story. I mean, and Orville, how long had you been on tour at that point? Because I know you did over 2,000 performances at Miss Saigon. So.
Yeah, so I think maybe like half the cast, we were there.
There you are.
That's another tour that yeah. but yeah, we I was there for the entire time, like 5.5 years, and I think like half the company also was there the entire time as well. So we had a 5.5 year club.
And Brian, you were there how long?
About the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all met through Miss Saigon. I mean, I left near the beginning, but doing such a long run, how do you sustain yourself? I mean, besides all the shenanigans.
I think we just heard his secret sauce.
Well, really, like on the tour, there's only 2 ways to go: either like eat and party, or like get really fit and buff. And I remember it, specifically, I think Jody Mocha, who was Balbavian's associate, would come in, and a lot of us were getting buff. And she told the guy specifically, like, okay, look, y'all were hired to look a certain way, and you all don't look like you're starving Vietnamese people. You look like y'all went to the gym, and so anyway, you need to stay healthy. Like, yeah, it's good to be healthy, but it's like we can't have all these bodybuilders up in here, and the heat is on, and we're starving, and whatever, and so yeah, like, but no, you do have to. I don't want to be a liar, but like we did, have our fun and stuff like that.
I never did that.
But and of course we were younger. We were in our 20s, so it's easier to recover. But like nowadays, if I do a long run, it's, oh my gosh, I can't drink at night. Especially if I'm, singing crazy notes and stuff like that. It's like you really do have to live like a monk, and you can't go out every single night or stay out late. With a bunch of people, you really. Your body is, it's an instrument. There's and you're a human being, and so you need to take care of that.
I mean, I love a long run. I mean, honestly, I know some actors don't prefer that. They like to move on, but I like to dig in, and the longer I'm doing it, the more I dig in. Like about every 6 weeks, I open it back up and say, oh, okay, now what?
Yeah.
I've already been there. Now what? And there's always something else, because I'm not the same as I was when I started. So,
and that tour was also super wonderful. Just like the people that were there, Fred Hansen put it up, and, Jody and Bob Billig. And it was it was a lot of our first big equity. It was our break into equity, and our first big break into what this what professional theater was. And so moving from city to city, we were each other's constants. And we were staying long enough that we could feel part of the city, but yet also we really bonded as a family, as a company.
The company was so tight. You were there, but when I got there, I had auditioned for Miss Saigon about, I don't know, 10 or 12 times. I've been called out. I was called in a lot for it before I finally booked it. And the last few times I was called in, I would revisit the Broadway show. And I was not a fan of the Broadway production or the show as I knew it there. I was not a fan. I didn't hate it. I was like, okay, this is going to be my first production contract, and if all goes well, and I will put my all into it. And I show up in San Francisco and went out and finally watched the show that night, and I was blown away. I was blown away by the sheer honesty of the storytelling and everyone's commitment and energy. It was it was like watching it for the first time, except I loved it.
Well, that company was very special.
It was.
And I just have to say, like, Miss Saigon has its recent sort of feelings and controversies about it. But at the time, for Asian performers, it was sort of the first big thing to bond us together in terms of the business. And it was, it did create a community, and it connected many of us who now have continued on into the industry and are sort of the leaders down the industry. So for me also, it was a very, very special experience in terms.
Absolutely. I mean, and that is so true.
It changed the industry. It really did.
It really did. And, yes, I know the show is problematic and maybe doesn't need to be produced ever again, frankly, from my POV, just because, we need to make way for new things. We need to Marie Kondo all those like old problematic shows, because there are new things coming.
Yeah,
so many things. And that's exactly what Live and in Color is dedicated to.
Well, let's get to the new things. Let's do the new things. We could do a whole show on Miss Saigon and get all our friends.
Totally.
Yes. Brian, quickly, I want to talk quickly about the Sonnet project with the Bedlam Theater Company's Mad Lab that you developed.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about it? I know I got to see it. There you are.
Oh dear Lord, there I am in the dark, in black light, spouting sonnets. So I fell in love with sonnets when I took a intensive course up at Shakespeare and Company, and we worked on sonnets as part of it, and I really had never explored that at all, and I sort of fell in love with them, and I started sort of digging into them a little bit. The following year, this was back in 2014. I lost my voice. Like I actually physically injured it, and it separated the arytenoid joint, and I lost my voice for about 6 months. It was singing was almost impossible. Speaking was a challenge, and I found a voice teacher to help me put it back together. But while I was going through this, thinking I didn't know if I would ever sing again. I sort of fell into the sonnets and just started digging really hard, because I could speak and I could do that, and I found an outlet for my creativity. I found a passion for what they were saying and what they were saying about me and to me, and I thought it would be really interesting to use these sonnets, or use some of these sonnets, because I use 154 sonnets. That's a really long show, to tell a story as the text of the story. So I put together a show that told the story of a man who is in love with this younger man. It's unrequited. And then when it's not unrequited, it's messy and duplicitous, and there's cheating and heartbreak, and then forgiveness. Yeah, exactly. And it was a journey it was an emotional journey that I really needed to take. And the sonnets gave me a way to do that. And so I developed this play. I did it on my own. And then I was given an opportunity to develop it with the Mad Lab at Bedlam Theater Company.
I was fortunate enough to see it. So one version of it. So I do hope you get to do it again at some point, and that it's still in your repertoire, and that will reemerge at some point.
It kind of is. And I'm actually morphing into another project that I would like to do a sonnet like half marathon. There are 154 sonnets in Shakespeare's sonnets, and I would do 77 of them, half of them, curated half of them, but do them in a very intimate circle for a very intimate audience, where I'm doing them one-on-one to people who have without a story, but with each one being its own dramatic moment for each individual audience member. So I'm really hoping to someday we can get into a room.
We can follow you on the social media to find out when you're doing that. It was so wonderful. Orville, I want to jump to you. So you've done a lot of new work. You've gotten to work with some really wonderful people in the business, some of the greats, Alex Timbers, Michael Greif, Roger Rees, the list goes on. You even originated an original Sondheim show, Roadshow. What's it like getting to learn from these icons and these people that I know all three of us look up to, and
it's everything you think it is. It's crazy. Like, you think of Stephen Sondheim, and he's a direct bridge to Rodgers and Hammerstein, who invented the modern American musical theater. And just to learn from these people and to hang out with them and like kind of almost, be treated like a peer, because you're all working toward the same goal. a new musical like Roadshow, and it's strange because it's I don't want to like I feel like I'm ancient, but I'm not ancient. But it's I can look back and really, wow, think of the opportunities that I've had and I've been given and been like, you came from the desert of Victorville, you got to Broadway and you got to work with all of these the people who make musicals in America, and just kind of be overwhelmed by that, but also know that I then have to take that, like it's kind of a passing of a torch situation, as much as Stephen Sondheim is a master or whatever, and John Weidman as well. They are very much teachers, and they love, as much as they love creating, they also love teaching and passing on their knowledge to the next generation. Yeah. And so now I kind of feel it's a duty, being a brown person in this industry, to take that knowledge and mix it with my life experience and what it is to be a brown person in America, and hopefully create a theater that speaks to what America looks like now.
Yeah.
And actually kind of what America has always looked like. I don't want to get too crazy in the weeds about the business of theater or whatever, and we all know it's a business, it's what makes money, but I think a lot of the times producers get short-sighted as to they know the sure thing, they know what's going to sell tickets, but it's hard for them to invest in, maybe there's another audience out there, maybe there's a bunch of people who didn't traditionally go to theater who are ready to throw their money at you, and also be spoken to through our art form,
and the talent that's out there that is
absolutely
untapped. I'll segue a bit into like Live and in Color, which the two of you have been part of since even way before its inception, like just part of the spark of for the audience that doesn't know, our once a year we go up to Salem, and we that's the sort of our retreat where we develop new plays and musicals, and Orville and Brian have been coming up there as my guests and friends to hang out in this place for years now, for 20 years.
Just like a vacation, just like a weekend, and
yeah.
And over the years, all sorts of shenanigans have gone on, writing plays, doing concerts, performing the entire Dreamgirls.
all of it. All of choreography.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it's like, sitting there under the stars and like really going, I love, because it's all of our friends, and I love this sense of community and this feeling. And it's like, how can we share this with, to the broader community and make them, feel this protected and make this a space for them to create and thrive and flourish and, nourish those little seeds of, budding new works that's coming out. And it's, Dev, it's all you. Like, none of us can take any credit for this.
I remember those conversations. I remember you, in front of the fireplace or in the kitchen many times over the years, talking about your hopes and dreams for using this special place to further the work that is so important to you, and to all of us, and watching you just sort of suss it out, and then eventually dive in, and here we are.
And as I keep saying, I was just talking about this the other day, I really feel like I created the place to show off my talented friends like the two of you, because I know how talented our community is that perhaps don't get as many opportunities and don't get seen by a wide audience. So that's, for me, part of the excitement and the love of it is to be able to introduce new writers, new talent around to the world. Both of you know that, our mission at Live and in Color is to connect diverse communities, to create new stage works. And I asked this question to all our guests. for both of you, what does having an inclusive working environment mean to you?
Okay, so I'm clearly not in a marginalized community, as other than being a gay man, and so I know that I have walked through the world very differently than perhaps Orville has, and so for me, working in an environment that is inclusive, that is diverse, means that I think that a lot of people, I think we like family, where it's comforting, and community is comforting, and it's very easy to surround yourself with family and community who are like you, whatever that means. But no great art, no and no society really can come from such a safe, comforting place. It takes. I'm not saying that safe and comforting aren't good, but I am saying that you have to look outside your own backyard in order to make something bigger than yourself. So if art is going to be great, you're not going to, if your art is going to be great, it will never be as great as it will be as when you venture into places that are not your family or your community or your backyard. So seeking out that as a place to create and is, I think, vital to doing anything really wonderful.
And there's having a space that is exclusively safe for people of color. There's, even though we all come from different histories and different cultures and stuff like that, there is a shorthand, especially with those of us who've been in the industry for any length of time as people of color. Like I've always been a character guy. In my 20s in college, I was playing Willie Loman in my acting class. So things like that. Like, but like I would never, we'll never say never, but like I really probably would never be cast in that role now that I'm closer to the age of that character. But I have certainly been blessed being cast non-traditionally in supporting roles or ensemble spaces where they need a person of color, and yet I've taken those opportunities, because even though sometimes I felt like a token, I needed to be there because I knew there was going to be an Asian kid in the audience watching this, and if I was the only person he could truly relate to,
Yeah.
It's worth it. But anyway, places like Live and in Color, developing work specifically for people of color, it makes us no longer the supporting characters. We're now protagonists in the world, in the worlds of these new pieces, and that's so valuable. Like I never, obviously growing up here in America, and I'm sure in Canada too, you look at the media and you always have to relate to white presenting protagonists, because that's just the majority of what they present to you, and that's subtly teaches you who is worthy, who is valuable, and those people look like this.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. I think hopefully with Live and in Color and pieces developed specifically for BIPOC protagonists, kids can also see, and adults too can finally see that we are also a vital part of this country, of this world, of this community, and hopefully kids coming up will feel just that more empowered, feeling like, hey, I belong, in this world, and because these stories are being told, and specifically to people who look like me. So
That's so beautifully said. Thank you for that. So we are running out of time, but we need to take some questions from our audience before we have to go. Let's see what we got. Susie says, hello, Brian and Orville. Do you both have a dream show you'd like to star in together? Well, I have one. Daisy and Violet, maybe?
Violet.
Siamese twins.
But is there anything you've ever wanted to do together?
Okay, so I have a funny answer and I think we'd be great in I Do. But honestly, I've always wanted to do Lacage with him, and I really want to play Alban, but I know for a fact that he'd be a great Alban too, and I would love to play his George. So, but that would be great.
That's one of my dreams too.
There you go.
You and that, I'm like,
I think there's a director.
Yeah,
it's crazy because, like, it's tough, but we've actually done so we did Miss Saigon together, obviously.
Yeah.
And I went on as the engineer one time when he was Chris. And then we did King and I together at Theater by the Sea.
Yeah.
He was playing
Weirdly.
Yeah.
yeah.
So we've actually worked a couple times at least.
And we did a NIMF showcase and together, and
so
but it is kind of rare that we get to,
because we're all such different times.
We'll have to figure that out somehow.
Yeah.
Let's take another question. Lizzie says, what was your favorite sonnet?
Oh gosh, that can change. That's mercurial. That just changes on a dime. I think my most recent favorite sonnet, I think it was 104. Let not my love be called idolatry, nor my beloved as an idol show. It's about, don't tell me what my love is. I know what my love is. It's been a favorite for the last few weeks.
I love it. Let's take one more question before we go. Sam says, do you have any favorite virtual performances you did this year? I mean, both of you were so busy doing all sorts of stuff.
I loved the live and in color telephone song that we did.
Was fun.
Also, I mean, oh my gosh, the Christmas
special, the crazy Christmas special
that Dennis directed.
Yes.
That came out so good. I was surprised. I was not expecting it to come out so wonderful. But so that I did something for the Victory Fund that was really amazing. It was a song from I'm However You Milk that Andrew Lippa wrote, and we did it as a finale for that. It's been a whirlwind because we literally, I think both of us have been in front of our, we know so much about Zoom and lighting. We've invested in some lighting and stuff like that. It's the wave of the future. But yeah, that's and a ton of Zoom readings of new things. Also, can't talk about. But But
honestly, the readings have been some of my favorite experiences. I mean, even not just for their artistic merit, but there was a reading we did, and I was in Ohio, he was in New York, and we did that with Tom Sesma and Cindy Chung and other people we know, and it was just such delightful fun. I mean, it was just, and so I never dismiss, we want to do a one night reading. We just want to read the play. And I'm like, sure, because honestly, in this last year, some of those have been just the best experiences.
Yeah.
I've been amazed how the theater community has rallied and created so much interesting content,
and the level, I mean, the
production
value as we learn how to do it better. It has been exponential. It's really amazing.
It's insane. Another favorite was BD Wong's Songs from an Enemy. Reichert Schnorr was videographer on that and directed some of that, and it was just amazing. And Yeah, just so many things. I mean, as much as I love all the virtual stuff we did, I cannot.
I know we are all chomping at the bit
to be live with people again.
Yes, well, that's happening now. So, and in fact, our audience, you can see Brian and Orville in our concert in a couple weeks. Guys, we are out there together again. We are out of time. You know, I could talk to you all night, but before we go, as we mentioned, all donations made during this month will be matched dollar for dollar up to $10,000. Please make a tax-deductible donation today to support the work of the artists at Live It in Color by going to liveitIncolor.org right now. All money raised goes to these artists and developing their new work.
I love you.
Next week, join us when we chat with another performer featured on our July 11th Garden Party concert, an incredible singer-songwriter and Connecticut's Got Talent winner, Ricky Stevens.
Oh, yeah.
She is really extraordinary. And to see more episodes of Be Our Guest, please make sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who tuned in today. Thank you, Orville and Brian. I will be seeing you in person very, very soon. I love you both. I'm your biggest fan. Orville, will you lead us in a little toast as we say goodbye?
Cheers, everyone. Happy Pride Month. And live your life live and in color.
Woo! Cheers! Happy Pride!
It's time to change the story. Come on and change this tune. See how the future looks.